I'm going to start imposing time limits in this case on direct and cross-examinations. We've been discussing this case, leading up to the case, and during the trial. I was told it was going to be 3 weeks. Today is 3 weeks. So clearly, we are behind schedule. This case is going to go to the jury next week. It's going to go to the jury next Thursday. And I'm going to move this case so that that happens. And I'm going to start imposing time limits. This line of cross-examination, tell me why it's relevant and what you're trying to do.
Law enforcement failed to exercise any kind of standard of care over this investigation. It shows law enforcement's bias, and it shows their ineffectiveness in actually being able to investigate the case. It's crucial to the defense to be able to put on this information.
So basically what you're trying to prove is that, as I understand it, is you have a witness who gave false information, he's not being used, and you're just trying to determine that the state didn't adequately investigate his false information?
That's true. He's also a potential suspect. Judge, anybody who comes forward to put themselves at the scene of the crime should be looked at as a person of interest. Anybody who puts himself there is a person of interest, if not a potential suspect, and we have a right to question the investigation and to challenge them and to get to the bottom of why they didn't pursue other people who are making false reports and maybe potential suspects.
Very well. You can do that, but this examination is way beyond the scope of the direct examination. This is evidence that is more properly presented in the defense case in chief.
I just have to object, Judge. I think that's going to cause this to take longer. I'm allowed in cross-examination to exceed the scope of direct. I'm not in any way limited by what the state asks this witness on direct.
That's the ruling of the court. Let's call the witness to the stand. We're not going to question the witness anymore on this particular point. You have 5 more minutes with this witness on cross-examination.
Judge, I have to object. This witness is very crucial to the defense. I've never been limited to the lead detective. This is the witness who's supposed to be the lead detective. I've never been limited to just 5 minutes of cross-examination. And this witness testified to all sorts of involvement in this case. This is one of the defense's main witnesses that we have to get to. Judge, limiting me to 5 minutes of cross-examination with this witness violates Mr. Kelly's constitutional
You now have
rights.
4 minutes. Call the witness. Bring in the jury. What's the special action? Please be seated. The records show the presence of all the jurors, counsel, and the defendant. Witness is still under oath, and you can continue with your cross-examination.
Thank you.
5 minutes later.
When you interviewed Daniel Ramirez, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You went into Mexico to interview him, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go into Mexico to interview him?
Because Daniel couldn't cross into the United States legally.
You could have called him on the phone, right?
He doesn't have access to a phone.
You could have arranged some sort of Zoom call, correct?
He doesn't have access to internet.
You could have spoken with Mexican officials to arrange something, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't do that, did you?
No.
You and Sheriff Hathaway crossed into Mexico to conduct a criminal investigation in Mexico, correct?
Well, it was a witness statement, witness interview.
Is taking a witness interview part of a criminal investigation?
Sometimes.
Was taking this witness interview part of a criminal investigation?
Yes.
So you conducted part of a criminal investigation in Mexico, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you very much. Redirect examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, defense counsel asked you a number of questions about the Celebrite download of the victim's phone. Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
She asked you about text messages, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell us, she asked you, were there other messages on the phone?
I just want to make sure that redirect is limited in the same way that my cross-examination was limited.
You can continue.
And I'd like to make a proffer when we're done with this witness.
You can continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell me, Detective, were there other text messages on the phone?
A little longer than a few minutes later.
It's a good time to take our mid-morning break. Is that all right? It's 9:45. We're going to take about a 20-minute break. I'll stay here with the lawyers. We'll come back about 10:05, depending on how long this takes for me to talk to them. We'll be in recess until about 10:05. Thank you. Excuse the jury. Thank you. Please be seated. The record show the absence of the jury. Ms. Larkin, you said you wanted to make an offer of proof concerning Detective Barba. You can do so. The court reporter and the clerk will remain in the courtroom to record your offer of proof.
Judge, can you hear me? He's walking away. Oh, okay. Cool. So we just want to make a further record that the fact that our cross-examination was significantly limited violates Mr. Kelly's right to confrontation of these witnesses and due process.